Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
I have a very regimented life. It started a long time ago. I won't get into all of it, but there's just lots of things that I'll do every day. Very disciplined about exercise and finances and all sorts of different things. I'm sure there are people who are way more diligent than I am, but then there are a lot of people who look at me and say, "Oh my God, you're crazy." Thankfully, I married someone who is probably as diligent as I am. At any rate, one of the things that I have become somewhat very, I don't want to say religious about, but some very disciplined, very driven. This is just part of my cadence, if you will. Is every month I'll go to the chiropractor, and you can love chiropractic, hate chiropractic, know nothing about chiropractic, whatever. That's just what I do. Every month, usually the first Monday of the month, I have a 7:30 appointment with Dr. Mike Cole to get an adjustment. And I won't get into all the wonder of chiropractic. I feel it helps me, and that's why I do it. At any rate, how did I start into chiropractic? And this really is kind of lead into today's conversation. But Dr. Cole was a part of AmSpirit Business Connections. Years ago, he was part of a group. And we'd had chiropractors before, and I was always very intrigued by chiropractic. And they would talk about it and the modalities and adjustments and what it did to the nervous system and how the body is self-healing and self-regulating and so on and so forth. And I was always very, very intrigued by it. But I never wanted to do it, and I never really wanted to ask, but I didn't know what it cost. I just figured, okay, this is medical. This is a medical thing. It's got to be hundreds of dollars, right? I don't have hundreds of dollars to commit to going to the chiropractor every month. Oh my gosh, or periodically, and so that's where it sat until at one point I happened to be at a chapter meeting, and Dr. Mike Cole was presenting, and this goes back 20 some years now, because I remember my kids were going with me for a while, and my daughter was probably 3 or 4 when she started in. But at any rate, I won't get into it. It's almost 25 years, right? This is just, so I'm listening to Dr. Cole's presentation, and he's going through and he's talking about things. And he says, let me just walk you through how we take on new patients. And he went through it, and I don't know if somebody asked, but he just revealed, he said, yeah, your first time visit is $60, and then it's $30 for your monthly visits. And I'm thinking to myself, $60. That's not a lot of money. That's not hundreds of dollars. It's not, it's not nothing, but it's not hundreds of dollars. And $30, yeah, I lose that in the wash, right? I mean, it's not a lot of money. And so I wrote up a referral and told Dr. Mike Cole, I'm like, listen, I'm going to come on in. I'm going to come on in and I'm going to try this chiropractic thing. And I went through his initial consultation and have been a client ever since. And there have been times where it's like, okay, do I need this? And then there are other times where, my God, I absolutely need this. And other times where he's pointing out things to me that I didn't realize myself. All just by, it's chiropractic, it's medical, there's something to it, right? I mean, I look at it this way: we all earn our money. We all earn our money. Realtors earn their money. Plumbers earn their money. Everybody earns their money. So when you want to, snub your nose at somebody else's profession, know that somebody really needs them and they do earn their money. So I've been a fan of chiropractic ever since. Now this is an episode about networking and relationships and referrals, and I want to kind of bring this around to referrals, because I'm in a lot of groups and I talk to a lot of people, and one of the things that is really that people are kind of cagey or guarded about is talking about money, what they charge. I'll tell you, AmSpirit Business Connections right now, it's $295 to join. It's $95 a quarter thereafter. It's on the website. I put it right out there. We talk about it. Will it always be that? No. Obviously expenses, things, inflation. I don't need to get into that, but we're pretty open about those things. Uh, Not everybody is open about it. When I practiced law, I wasn't open about what I charged necessarily, and I can see why people aren't. And I don't know that there's a right answer to this. I don't know that there's a right answer to this. But if you're looking to get referrals and you're looking to message for referrals, it's something that you might want to consider talking about. And I have a couple other stories that I'll get into. Um, but I think that people don't talk about money because one, they don't want to scare somebody away. And two, people don't talk about money because they don't want to leave money on the table. For example, if you're, and I hear of contractors doing this, they'll check the zip code of where somebody lives and they'll adjust their prices based on zip code. If you're living in the bad part of town, you know what? They know they're not going to get as much money for that basement refinish, and so they're not going to ask for as much. But by golly, when they're in the ritzy part of town, they're gonna double their prices. Is that right or wrong? I don't know. That's a whole nother podcast. Um, but that's the reason why people won't want to talk about money. Part of the other reason is certainly with the basement refinish and a lot of businesses, you just don't know, right? Hey, come paint my house. How much is that going to cost? Well, I haven't seen your house. I don't know. So I understand why people would be non-committal about those sorts of things. But there are certainly other professions where money doesn't come up, like coaching. People don't talk about coaching, and so people might be leery about, like me, asking about it or just even committing to it because they don't know if they can afford it. They don't want to give too much information. They want to know whether they can afford it or not. And so I've recently had a couple of experiences. Uh, um, there was a particular service out there. I was very intrigued by it, and I don't have their permission to talk about it on here. Um, but I'm like, that just really sounds really involved. And then I found out the price, and it was like, oh, okay, that's not cheap, but that's not what I expected it would be. I I can try that. I can fit that into my budget. Um, and then the other day I was talking to somebody, and uh, I'll throw his name out there, Nathan Segal, um, and he's a commercial artist, and you can commission him to do art for like for your office. Hey, we want a big painting over this, and over the when people come in, we want this artwork here, and you can commission him to do those sorts of things. Um, I'm sure I haven't talked about price. I'm sure that's time consuming. Meeting with the client, getting it right, buying the materials, all that stuff, it's time consuming. But one of the other things that Nathan has gotten into and gotten really good at is using AI to create artwork. And now these aren't specialized pieces that somebody's going to, hang over, in the lobby of their, well, maybe they would be, but generally speaking, these are not specialized pieces that are going to hang in the lobby that, the corporate execs are going to gush over and auction off for thousands of dollars. But, what he does is he puts together, uses AI, talks with the company, uses AI to help them put together coloring books or just simple graphics that people can use and put into a booklet, a leave behind booklet. Put their name on. Maybe you're an insurance company and you want to have a little booklet that you give out to all the kids, a safety booklet or something like that. I don't know. Lots of uses. And so he was telling me about this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're a commercial artist. I see the work. I see the work on your website. Um, and we were just going back and forth, kind of brainstorming of who he should be networking with and different uses for this, this new venture he's really gotten involved with. Um, and it's interesting. It's all very interesting to me. And then I just asked him. I said, what does something like this cost? If I were to come to you I don't, I told him, I said, at AmSpirit, we really don't have a need for something like that. I can't envision a need at this point in time. But I know people who probably could, and I had some referrals for him. But I said, it would really help me if I kind of understood what this costs. And I'm thinking in my mind, this guy's he's a commercial artist. He's working with big companies doing amazing drawings. And he revealed to me what this costs. And again, it's using AI, and he's become very, AI, anybody can use it. Well, anybody can go buy a wrench and turn a wrench too, right? Anybody can go buy a paintbrush and a canvas and paint. Doesn't mean you're good. But he's really devoted a lot of time to this craft of AI. And there are tricks to it. So at any rate, he revealed what it cost. And I won't get into it because I don't want to pin him down right here because his prices might change. Reach out to him, and I'll put his information in the show notes. But he revealed what the cost is, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is very unique, and it's wonderfully affordable. I could see somebody who had a need would be all over this. And so there's another example of, by revealing the pricing, revealing the pricing. I encouraged him, talk about the pricing in your messaging. Talk about the pricing when you're meeting with people, because that reframes their thinking. I went from thinking, oh my gosh, commercial artists, thousands of dollars to put together these little booklets, to, what? Maybe a couple $100 to put together a booklet. That's a total game changer. That's a total game changer. It certainly changed in my mind the population of the potential candidates I could refer to him by revealing that to me. So I hope you can see where I'm going with this. It may not fit with what you have, but it's certainly worth considering to, at some point, reveal your pricing to people in your messaging, to people you're potentially going to be clients, people you're potentially going to be asking for referrals from, because that will help them frame in their mind who they can refer to you. And maybe what it does is it narrows what you're looking for, and maybe that's what you want. Maybe you don't want dozens and dozens of clients. Chiropractic relies on a lot of people coming through the door. And not everybody relies on that. So again, you need to think about it. But if you have one of those, if you have a product or a service that can lend itself to opening the doors to more people, getting more people to try what you're about, like me trying chiropractic, by revealing that price in a non-committal way, right? And I'm not suggesting baiting and switching and things like that. But revealing the pricing, you might end up getting more referrals. So it's certainly worth considering. It's worth considering, and again, it's going to depend upon your situation. And in addition, maybe when you're out talking to people about what their products, what their product or service, if you're fuzzy about it, I don't think there's anything wrong with just asking. I'm not trying to commit you to what it would cost to paint a house. There's certain things that, you need somebody to come out and look at it, but to gain a sense as to what something costs can help you better refer them. So this whole notion of revealing pricing can help you get more referrals, be positioned to get more referrals, and it can help you position to give more referrals as well.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.